Today is September 12th, and deer season starts this Saturday, so 4 days away. I'm checking cameras for the very last time before the season starts. We're down at the Death Valley food plot. This is where I planted 5-star Rage by Ridgeline back a couple weeks ago. We're gonna go in, we're gonna touch up the mock scrape that's in there, Social Hub by High Voltage. I'm super excited. Hopefully Barney's still hanging around. So we're gonna go in, we're gonna check the camera, put this stuff on my boots. This is the Fall Essence cover scent. Here she is, guys. Look at this food plot. I'm just starting to see a little bit of browse pressure in a couple of these spots. That means deer are in here and they're nibbling at it. This is a problem. Shoot. Gonna hit the scrape with some pre-orbital doe. Here's a small little kill plot that I planted that didn't really do too much. There's brassicas and stuff growing in it. There's a little bit of clover. There's some forage seeds in here, but the weeds and stuff took over, and it's something that I'll try again next year, I guess. It's still a cruising spot for deer, though. There's some good thick bedding over here in front of me, and it's down here below this bean field. Got the bean field right up here. Got a creek behind me here, and deer use this whole area as kind of a travel route out into a transition area, which is the big food plot, and then out into the bean and alfalfa fields. So this camera here, I checked it once already. Barney was in here 3 or 4 times in the evening, just walking through. He wasn't sitting here. He was just walking right on through here. So we're gonna check it again. Hopefully he's still showing back up. Right now I'm scouting where I want to hunt Saturday morning. Unfortunately, I can't hunt Saturday afternoon due to a wedding, but the morning looks like it should be all right. It's not supposed to be super hot. It's supposed to be relatively cool, so it should still be a real good spot. I noticed this massive trail. Got a big old trail. I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of cutting right down in through there, and I've never seen a trail this heavy coming up out of this thick spot before. And it comes up across the 4-wheeler trail and heads up in through there. So I don't know exactly where it's going up there. I don't really want to walk up in there because I know deer bed this hillside here. But we've got a ladder stand right over there. Right over there. There's a 2-man ladder over there. And 75 yards down the 4-wheeler trail, I've got a lock on. And these stands, they're 100 and 150 yards apart, yet you'll see totally different deer, and you'll have 2 totally different hunting experiences. Just because where that stand is, it gets real open. It's an oak flat. You come down here to this stand, it's real steep, and it's a lot more bedding down in here. So it's 2 totally different hunting experiences, even though they're 150 yards apart. Oh, goodness, it's hot out here. But I think our game plan for Saturday morning is, at least for me, to come up here. Again, it depends on the wind. Wind is always my #1 factor when it comes to hunting. Even if there's a spot that I just really want to hunt, like, it comes down to wind. If the wind's not good, I ain't hunting it. Even if my scent control is 100%, I ain't hunting it if the wind's not good. Obviously, I try to control my scent somewhat in the off chance something's swirling, but I hunt the wind mainly. That's my go-to, and I've had pretty good success with that. So an interesting thing I want to point out, we were super dry the last 3.5 weeks, to the point where everything was kind of like maturing early. So all the crops kind of matured early, and leaves are now dropping super early. Normally by the 1st of October, it's starting to really drop, but it's middle of September and they're really dropping. I mean, I'm just sitting here and I'm watching leaves fall out of the trees, and I mean, I can see it on the ground, all these fresh leaves that are dropping. But the funny thing was, as soon as I drove up here, I could smell it. All those leaves that are dropping, those fresh leaves, and then we got a bunch of rain the last few days, so all that moisture with all the fresh leaves on the ground, and it just smells like fall. And I was like, it's go time. It's go time, guys. Made it to my last camera up here on the bean field, and I just got to show you guys these beans. Nice stand of full season beans, right? And then that. There's no more beans. This is where Barney and his little herd of deer have been spending pretty much all their time. I believe they live down in this creek bottom here below me. Super steep hill, drops down to a creek, steep on the other side, real thick bedding down in there. Not our property, but I know that's where Barney spends most of his time. The deer come up out of there every single evening. Now, Barney doesn't do it all the time, but this group of deer, 5, 6, 7, 8 deer, do it every single night, and that's why there's no beans left. So we're gonna check this camera. I've got Barney up here probably like 100 different times, it seems. I'll be curious to see if he's showing up again, and I'm hoping that he shed his velvet, and I want to see what he really actually looks like. So we're gonna pull the camera, then we're gonna head back. We're gonna check the 4 camera cards, and I'll let you know what we see. So good news, Barney showed up 3 times. I'll get to that in a minute, but first let's go camera by camera. First camera was down at the Death Valley. This is the nice food plot. Here's a daytime doe that I had. Nothing special, but there's a daylight doe, so there's deer at daylight. Had a small little buck show up down there. It looks like he shed his velvet. And then, of course, the other, like, 300 pictures were the weed in front of the camera. So that one didn't really do much. There could have been a lot of nice deer in there and I didn't even know because, well, they grew up in front of the camera. Let's go to the bean field. This is the hot spot for deer activity. Really cool picture of deer in daylight, sunset. Kind of looks cool. But that doe right there is the stupid doe that does not leave that hole alone. She's the one that dug that hole. Here's the group of deer that's always hanging up there. It's kind of just one of the pictures. There's like 6 or 7, but you can't see them all here. This little 4-point shed as velvet. Here's a cool picture. The other night we had a really big storm, and I just kind of thought it was cool. This camera captured when the lightning struck. Now let's get to Barney. So Barney showed up in the bean field 3 times, twice in velvet. So got some real nice pictures of him here. Just a tank of a deer. But then here he showed up without his velvet, and the deer is still as big as he was. Honestly, almost looks bigger, but he is just a bruiser of a deer. Like, oh my goodness, this deer is huge. What an absolute deer. We had 2 other cameras though. The camera down in the sanctuary plot had really nothing on it. It did have this weird looking blob to the one side that I was like, oh my, where's that another Bigfoot? But I don't know, I just deleted it. And then the small little kill plot that doesn't have much growing in it. Didn't really get much in there. A little buck, lots of foxes and coons, cats. We also had some few deer like this one here. Just a lone doe walking through, a couple small groups of does, but nothing fancy. But hopefully as we get closer to the season, stuff will start showing up.